the International Conference on Accounting and Finance.
Good morning, conference chair, conference directors, and conference chair, and ladies and gentlemen. So I would like to thank conference director and conference chair and conference team about help and to give me a chance to set this a good place and present my paper, which prepared by me and by Dr. Shamsuddin Baj. I'm Mr. Dr. Essa El-Firjani from Libya, Tripoli University. I'm senior lecturer. So, start to present the papers as guided by channel. Facing international accounting standard and international financial reporting standards, implementation by Libyan listed companies. So this paper is structured and some points is introduction of, and country background, research objectives, motives of research or reason of paper, brief is literature, research methodology, and that results, research contribution, research implications. So the first point is introduction about Libya and the reason why and motivation why the authors choose this topic. So the accounting regulation is an important for accounting, and as we know, the whole business now, or big business, operate by managers and owned by ownership. There is separation between them. The accounting regulation is fill the gap or minimize the gap between them. So the international accounting standards and IFRS is become as a good regulation, accounting regulation to from the developed countries. And in developing countries, IFRS maybe if used play a vital role to attract a foreign business and to organize or provide a good accounting regulation. So about the Libya in the past as try to reform it is accounting regulation and accounting started in 1990s, exactly in 1992. So try to reform it is economic and allow to foreign business to operate in the Libyan market. So because it's changed from it is market from public sector to private sector, and this led to Libya to reform its accounting to adopt international accounting standards. So the Libyan government enacted new laws, and first one on the banking sector, and the next one to Libyan stock market. In 1995, enacted to banking sector, this law require from all banks in Libya is use or
prepare financial reports according to international accounting standards. And 2006 issued the Libyan stock market. The first law requires the use international accounting standard. Then enacted another law. Another law emphasizes that it's necessary to apply or adopt international accounting standards. This means from this and from some research in Libya, like El-Firjani, found, and the companies in Libya and banking still use the gap. So by the law, the Libyan is adopted international accounting standards. But this paper too, the aim is to investigate these companies is adopted international accounting standard, is they use this standards or not. So from the literature, the paper found some factors that may be considered considered as challenges to international accounting standard and IFRS implementation in developing countries, general, especially in Libya particulars. The reason for choose this topic because the Libyan change its economic policy to open market, encourage more foreign business to operate or to invest in the Libyan market. The issue of the emerging of Libyan stock market is new, as we said in 2006. Enacted new laws which require adopt international accounting standards or use international accounting standards. Last one is there is no more research, little research for study like this topic. About the literature review, many authors explain why from the many countries, developing countries, cannot use or cannot implement the international accounting standard IFRS. So there's many challenge or obstacles faces the developing countries to adopt or implement international accounting standards or IFRS. For example, the absence of training facilities or education deficiencies and outdated academic curriculums. In Nigeria, both or these factors faced Nigeria to implement full international accounting standards. Another, about the training, some occurs or some authors found that in the developing countries should be provide good training to accountants and or preparers of financial statements until the standard or understand this standard and apply. In Algeria, another thing, in the countries which use English language is more than or apply the international accounting standard more than the countries that or don't use English language. For example, the countries which ties Anglo-Saxon are more likely to adopt international accounting standard or IFRS more than others. The countries which affiliated to the British, for example, this influenced by British companies acts. These acts or these companies or legacy presents a big challenge or obstacles to the countries that like to confirm or to like to apply international accounting standards. Another factor that found from the literature is the role of external auditors. These external auditors may provide or make good pressure on the companies which are audited by them to apply or to implement the international accounting standards, for example, in Bahrain and Thailand, whether local or Big Four. The paper used the same structure interview because the population of paper is small, as it choose listed companies, because these companies requires, as we said, apply or use the international accounting standards by the law. So I think 10 or 12 company include the banks and choose the just companies and not banks, because the banks has special law to require or to use the international accounting standard. So this left in the future study. The population is, or the sample is, I think 20 interviewees. So choose the financial managers and internal auditors, because the samples or this have more information about why companies don't or cannot use or apply international accounting standards. So from the 20 interviews were targeted, 3 companies is who were not available, and 3 interview is unwilling to make with them interview. So the total of interviews 11 interviews, and we can't And the authors, we can't use questionnaire because the sample is small, and the questionnaire need more samples or targets. The data that's found from the interviews analyzes by the contents analysis, because it's the good method or analysis to analyze the data that collected from interviews. From the results can show or found many results from this analysis. First one, the accounting regulation of public corporation, because Libya has public companies, public sector and private sector and banking sector. Strongly influenced by the law. It's commercial law and tax law. This is take priority to implement that the law is, what the law requires to implement, then the gap. The listed company, Libya is required to, as we said, comply with international accounting standards. The majority of them still comply with the gap. There is many challenges or obstacles that faces this company to comply or to implement the international accounting standards, IFRS, as a follow. The first one, most of companies do not provide good training to accountants or preparers of financial statements of these companies. If provide some is weak, is the training program were weak. The accountants and preparers hasn't any adequate skills, hasn't any awareness of the international accounting standards, and cannot be implement the international accounting standards. That means is that training is more important to when the country adopts of international accounting standards. In Libya, there is no, or accounting education curriculums do not include the international accounting standard and IFRS on their universities or schools. The most of preparers of financial statements in these companies unable to use English language, because this English language is necessary for communication with authors, Big Four, or the foreign business. And the international accounting standards is, if the translators is not good translators to make we understand or understand these standards. The enforcement of listed Libyan stock market, because it should be has good enforcement on these companies. This enforcement is absent from the Libyan stock market. the mechanism of, so the must add or study international accounting standards in the universities, then make good training program. The future study is will cover Libyan banking sector as I said, because the banking sector has separate law and required to use international accounting standards. Thank you very much. If there any question, please.